have Michael Koren with us today, who is our moderator, and give him a big hand. And Michael, if you will, it's all yours.
Right. This evening's debate. Well, I want to emphasize at the very beginning, and I'm sure this is redundant, but just to remind people, of course, respect for everyone participating, because it is so important in contemporary Canada in particular, I believe, that ideas are expressed openly. I know some are offended by some ideas. That's the nature of being a grown-up in a pluralistic world. Some ideas offend. Get used to it. We coexist. We live together. So respect for people willing to stand here, sit here, participate, and give their opinions. I think it's a wonderful thing, and it's one of the great triumphs of democracy. So respect all around. I'm sure we will get that. Christianity and Islam. Christianity and Islam being the subject of debate tonight. What we'll have, as with earlier debates, 40 minutes from each person. 40 minutes each. Then each person has a 15-minute rebuttal, and then a 5-minute conclusion each, and then questions. You'll write down, if you want to, you'll write down your questions, and we'll read the questions out.
Was there to be a second round of rebuttals before the...
We can have two. We can have two. We may have a second round of rebuttals, so 40, 15, 5, and 5. Dave Hunt, some of you are new, you haven't been to the debates before, so I will introduce him again for those of you who don't know who he is, not many of you. Dave Hunt, a best-selling author, researcher, international lecturer for over 30 years, over 4 million books sold, some titles in more than 50 languages. Many are available just outside, discussing Eastern psychological selfist philosophies, ecumenism, other unbiblical teachings, also a great concern over Islamic politics and religion, articles, lectures. He's also a very popular guest lecturer and radio personality. Shabir Ally, who has been on my television show 2 or 3 times. Wonderful to have him as a guest. Holds a BA in Religious Studies from Laurentian University in Sudbury, Ontario, with a specialization in biblical literature, and an MA in Religious Studies from the University of Toronto, with a specialization in Quranic exegesis. He is pursuing a PhD. How's that going?
Pretty good.
Brilliant. Yeah. And a PhD in Quranic exegesis at the University of Toronto. He's president of the Islamic Information and Dawah Center International in Toronto, where he functions as imam. He travels internationally to represent Islam in public lectures and interfaith dialogues. He explains Islam on a weekly television program called Let the Quran Speak, which I think is on CTS, is it not? It's a wonderful channel. The first 40 minutes to Dave Hunt. Sir, go ahead.
Okay, well, I guess there was a little bit of discussion behind the scenes that I wasn't aware of. Shabir said it was supposed to be the Bible against the Quran, and I thought this was the one. It doesn't really matter because the Bible is the foundation of biblical Christianity. The Quran is the foundation of Islam. So we'll probably cover both of those. Once again, I want to thank Paul McGregor and the other conveners and sponsors of this series of debates. I think it was a great idea. How many of you think it ought to be done again? Oh, okay. Very good. They like debates. Paul debated all the time. He debated daily in the marketplace, in the synagogue. My wife doesn't like debates, and I take some comfort from Paul. He did it all the time. That was part of his ministry. And I want to thank the film crew and Michael Koren and for being the moderator, and the school for renting this out to us. Now, I want to make it very clear, as I have done in each of the 2 previous debates, I'm not here to represent or defend any religion. Protestantism, Catholicism, Methodism, or Calvinism, or Presbyterianism, or anything. I'm here to defend and explain and defend biblical Christianity. The reason for that is because there are a lot of people who call themselves Christians. And I say to them, look, In fact, I was having a little debate with a Muslim in Washington, D.C., and he was telling me that Islam is peace. Well, I said, okay, you want to make up a religion, make up any religion you want. But you can't call it Islam. It has a prophet, it has its scriptures, it has a history. And I said, I say the same thing to people who call themselves Christians. You want to make up a religion? Go ahead. Make up any religion you want. You're free to do that. But you can't call it Christianity unless you follow the teachings and example of Jesus Christ, and you get Christianity that you claim to be following. You get it from the Bible, God's Word. So that's why I define it as biblical Christianity. Now, I'm not here. I've listened to at least one debate by Shabir, and I know he loves to quote experts and critics and so forth. I'm not here to quote the experts. Frankly, there are many experts, and they have varying opinions. I'm here just to quote the Bible, just to look to the Bible. I think we ought to let the Bible and the Quran speak for itself. Now, that's my opinion. He can do what he wishes. I don't mean, by biblical Christianity, I don't mean Christianity as defined by a church, a denomination, some theologian, some alleged expert. I think, we talked about it in the Q&A this afternoon. I think the Bible ought to be pretty well self-explanatory. The Quran ought to be also written for the common people, and you shouldn't have to consult some expert to find out what the Bible is saying or what the Quran is saying. Well then, if I've got to consult an expert about what the Bible is saying, I'm not really in touch with God. Now, how do I know the expert knows what he's talking about? Well, then I'm going to have to check him out, and maybe the guy that he learned this from. And I didn't bring my Bible up. I'll just have to quote it, but that's okay. I don't have room for it here. Sad case when you don't have room for the Bible, but there's a small podium here. But in Matthew 23, Jesus takes the rabbis to task. And I'll just put it in my own modern translation. He says, "You scoundrels, not only don't you enter into heaven, you stand in the way of those who would, because you set up a system of religion that is so complicated, they are at your mercy.